Yet another summer revolving around the sun, and the temperature outside just keeps crawling up. I wonder why. So, what else is there to do but go to work and spend every other hour cooped up indoors? Now, it isn't too inhospitable outdoors, but when presented with a choice of shelter from the heat versus the laser that is direct sunlight, the former sounds appealing. Especially when thinking back to how much more comfortable summers used to be for outdoor activity before those weird, water-guzzling concrete boxes started sprouting up everywhere. What I've been doing recently is living out my summer vicariously through various media I enjoy, and that's what I plan on sharing with y'all today. Man, I love Golden Boy! So, what ties this series to summer for me is the eternal association of the summer and job hunting. Ever since sophomore year of high school, each and every summer has been connected by a single through line: the desperate scramble for a job. Over the years, my motivations and circumstances have changed, of course. I saved up for various things and had varying degrees of necessity, but my summer malaise was always punctuated by that old reliable job search. And Golden Boy is all about that. Well, not all about that. It isn't ecchi, but a very well-written and relatively tasteful one, if I do say so myself. Golden Boy follows the adventures of Kentaro, a freelance worker who goes from job to job in the endless pursuit of knowledge, as he calls it. In doing so, he inadvertently charms every attractive woman at said job. He doesn't really do so obliviously per se, but his perversion is a wholesome one, kinda. The period Golden Boy characterized was known as the Lost Decades in Japan. The bubble economy created in part by the United States fast-tracking the country into late-stage capitalism had popped by 1991. And the floundering economy struck the Japanese working class like an arrow to the heart. Kentaro, the Golden Boy himself, identifies as a quote-unquote feeder, essentially a worker with unstable employment who goes from job to job under the gig economy. Now, Golden Boy may have played a part in romanticizing these dire circumstances, but in my humble opinion, romanticization is only one step removed from solace in times of strife. Anyway, Golden Boy is a classic, and the final episode is absolute kino, and I'm gonna save that one for my showcase of media about making media. If you want to get a leg up, check it out! Released in 2020 by Kaizen Softworks, Paradise Killer has you playing as Lady Love Dives in an attempt to solve the murder of one of your former colleagues. As with most any detective game, there is a right answer for who the suspect is, but it doesn't lock you into that. In its delightfully open-ended approach, you can totally just load up the game, accuse anyone with zero evidence, and see credits. But where's the fun in that? Oh, right. Paradise Killer's world building is delightful. I'll give you the short and sweet. Immortal alien gods/beings in the pursuit of creating a perfect society have gone through iteration upon iteration, with each being scrapped due to some sort of institutional failure. Humans from Earth are kidnapped to live their lives in these experiments, but are ritualistically slaughtered at the end of each one, while the immortal aliens known as the Syndicate move on to the next. I adored the game's aesthetic a lot, and it's what landed the project on this list. Between the canonically out-of-fashion vaporwave aesthetics and the city pop-driven soundtrack, the game feels like exploring an abandoned beachside resort at sunset. In researching the game's behind the scenes, I gleaned a lot from this interview the game's lead had with Ivy Taylor on gamesindustry.biz. In said interview, they spoke about embracing weirdness with no real narrative reasoning behind it, which would typically be considered bloat in the industry. However, relative to the abandoned, lifeless environment, it is that same weirdness that breathes life into the game, which comes in the form of characters and interactables left behind by the world's previous inhabitants. When people call Fooly Cooly vibes-based, I see where they're coming from, though I think it's a bit reductive. The weirdness first ethos and aesthetics and narrative for either property serve an important purpose in either project, in my opinion. Paradise Killer's exposition revolves around these delightful vignettes of a bar conversation, as well as various meetings with the ghosts of former residents who tell you about their belongings and experiences, both of which have a very good grounding effect in my experience. Juxtaposed against these very colorful and fantastical characters is an appreciation for the mundane, and that's something I find very special. This idea is even more felt while exploring the very abandoned but very lived-in environment, which is something that'll come up later. Oh wow, what a cool Japanimation set in the US. I wonder where it takes place. Sorry, I didn't quite catch that. Where is it? Where? Oh, it's Chicago! Okay, all jokes aside, I'm a total weeb for Chicago, so seeing mangaka Kenichi Sonoda's zeal for the city I'd yearned to live in for so long definitely had a part to play in how endeared I was towards Gunsmith Cats. Combine that with the OVA animation director Takeshi Mori's love for cars, and I'm absolutely sold. Find someone who loves you like Mori loves the Shelby Cobra GT500 and you're set for life. The detail and geometrical consistency our main girl's ride is drawn in is on par with California Crisis in its cel-animated glory. Sandwiched between romanticized vignettes of a grimy Chicago and glittery pans across the Cobra, however, lie our titular Gunsmith Cats.
Rally Vincent, bounty hunter.
Oh.
They call me Minnie May.
There, we're all introduced.
Released in 1996, the OVA follows Raleigh Vincent and May Hopkins as they run their gun store and tangle with the actual real-life Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms, emphasis on that last one, who twist their arms into dealing with the mafia. Zany antics ensue until they're hunted by Batty, an ex-KGB turned arms dealer, Natasha Radinov. It's good fun. There's a political kernel at the center of all this too. It's not particularly sharp, but it isn't inconsequential either. A passing but not insignificant glance is given to corruption in US politics, the consequences of Soviet collapse, gun control, maybe? Etc, etc. And I think that's pretty awesome. But how does that relate to the summer? I genuinely have no justification other than the lighting. I'm gonna be completely honest. The constant overhead sun and the emphasis on cars triggered a twisted Pavlovian response in my head planted by California Crisis. That's about it. Whoops! Honorable mention, California Crisis. The countryside can be a beautiful thing. It's sleepy, quiet, and the hours in a day seem endless. For that same reason, it can be hell. Living in the boonies for a good chunk of my childhood, my days were spent rocketing down dirt roads on my bicycle and tying beetles to strings and walking them around, as cliche as that sounds. But God, did the countryside have claws, and they dug deep. In the country, an eternity of fields and nothingness would separate you from the closest town. And as a kid who obviously can't drive a car, you might as well be solitary confinement. You must make peace with the small fish tank's worth of people you're surrounded with or die a hermit. Simple as. Released by Marilyn F. Paisley on July 13, 2022, Good Morning as a social construct is a VN that follows our beloved, fail girl shut-in Mia as she navigates what it means to grow older, although not in a way which has her suppressing who she was before, as we see in her childhood friend. She meets someone special. Special enough to have been just the right person to meet at just the right time. Okay, full transparency. This game means a lot to me. While plot ambiguity on this channel is the standard, I feel the need to stress it doubly so with this one. It's free, and it'll take you about an hour. Good Morning comes in some amazing packaging too. The art style is
fantastic.
While you're at it, big shout out to Hello Girl and Emo Team as a whole, who Paisley is on. If you like VNs, Hello Girl is an excellent one. I'd speak about it more here, but I plan on talking about it more in a future video. The roar of cicadas, the rush of wind between cornstalks, the distant cries of mourning doves. I find it hard to feel nostalgic towards a time as horrible as middle school, but it's media like this that brings back the good of that era. It smells and feels like the first cool breeze of fall after a heat wave summer, and the subsequent harvest and festivals that soon follow. I will return someday and watch the crop duster cut its way through the skies above the wheat field, as I have a million times before during recess. What's there to be said about YKK that hasn't already? I've spent many nights staring, half-lidded eyes taking in the OVA's scenery and music right before bed. It is there against the blue light haze of my phone screen that I take in every single one of the 240 lines that make up every frame of YKK's first two OVAs. To be clear, I don't have anything against the second set of OVAs released in the early aughts. For some reason, I'd always gravitated towards the first two OVAs released in '98 by Aijado Animation Works. I adore the quiet countryside, specifically rural beachside towns. YKK is steeped in the glowing embers of the sunset. The sound of ocean waves and birdsong pour over the audio tracks like a generous helping of audio sandwash. And just as you start to get lost in the sights and sounds of the 240p VCR haze, you see that yo, those girls are kissing! For real though, I'm a big appreciator of the media I consume having sauce. I hate to get metaphysical, but it's a bit of an abstract bar to clear. I suppose I just like it when something I consume flexes its uncompromising artistic vision, as pretentious as that sounds. In YKK, the sauce I love so much comes in the form of world building. Without getting too bogged down in the details, YKK takes place in the post-apocalypse, a time long after great floods had sunk entire cities, where what survivors remaining had time to rebuild. I think the most compelling parts of YKK's world is how normal everything is. Normalcy that's complemented by the incredible levels of realism on display. Alpha, YKK's protag, has a friend and an old man who runs a gas station by himself. She zips across the countryside on a Honda Super Cub with a modified 1999 Cougar trimming. Perhaps the most futuristic thing about this world is the subtle technology hidden beneath its surface. Alongside some other characters, Alpha is an android, hence the eerie way info is transferred between them. She operates a camera given to her by her long-gone owner by sticking a cable into her mouth and seeing through the camera's pupil-like lens. In one of its most poignant scenes, Alpha and a colleague look out over a bay, the tops of long-abandoned buildings poking out of the water. Mountain faces, which had once cradled the city, serve as the new shoreline, the buildings on top being spared the same watery fate as its downhill counterparts. No doubt smaller structures than the multi-story Goliaths beneath. As the sun sets, we're shown that the city's lighting infrastructure has somehow survived all these years, a near impossibility. I think I'll let the OVA's dialogue during this scene carry the imagery. Lord knows I could do it justice with any words of my own.
かつて実用のために光っていた街灯。今はただ光るためだけに光る。
Look, y'all don't need me to guide you to the thesis here. What I will say is that YKK is a comfort watch for a reason. In America where I live, my immediate environs are surrounded by abandoned warehouses and business properties chewed up and spit out by the endless combine of capital. When I go on walks or drives late at night, I can often feel like I'm living in the post-apocalypse. So, when I find an abandoned lot whose lights stay on, or a typically bustling area now empty in the off hours with its colored lights shining on a desolate parking lot, I think back to the scene in YKK. To the things that persist even when most folks aren't around to appreciate it. I love these pieces of media, truly, but I get the inkling that engaging with them solely through the lens of escapism isn't the healthiest thing to do. It's important to connect with other people in times like this, to not grow alienated under the brutal thumb of worsening conditions, because things won't get better on their own and all that. Whether in person or online, I urge you to hang out with people, Enjoy the extra tiny bit of time the summer awards most people. Despite these conditions, we must do it anyway. It's just a couple months, but we'll do it anyway. Howdy everyone! I'm alive! It's been a while, yeah? First things first, I am still working on the quote-unquote big video, but as it stands now, it would take too long for me to finish. So, before then, I wanted to premiere this other sort of genre of video I'll also be making. All credit goes to Hazel, of the channel by the same name, whose videos I've endlessly watched and rewatched in the time since my last posting on this channel ages ago. Her video on the anime countryside especially shares a lot of DNA with this one. These showcase type videos will be my usual fare on this channel while I work on bigger projects in the background, just so I can really take my time without feeling like I've abandoned my channel again. Another shout out goes to you, dear viewer. Whether you're new or you've stuck around for the past million years of silence, I appreciate you being here. I've learned a lot about video creation as well as fomented my own creative voice in the time since my last upload, and I really look forward to posting more. This is Six, signing off, and I'll see y'all next time.